Okay, so the mission is, don't faff with my hair, just leave it. Just leave it. You joined me this evening in my newly slightly decorated bedroom. A much more me environment right now compared to how this bedroom has previously looked. And I thought that we would do a little catch-up Q&A. It's been 3 months now since I got home to England, and I feel as though I just haven't really updated you in a Q&A like this. Consider this your quarterly update, as if we're friends catching up after 3 months. I've got my berry tea. Can you see it? Can you see it? I'm gonna literally pour bright red Ribena looking liquid. There it is. All over my cream carpet. Can you see it? Trust me, it's berry tea. It's my new obsession. Bon appetit. Tastes like hot Ribena. Tastes like hot Ribena, but it's okay. And we're just gonna jump straight in, really. I'm gonna try and go through all of them, but we're gonna do it fast paced. No yapping. Somebody said plans for the near future, and I guess that's kind of the point of doing an update video. So we'll start with that, but we'll keep it brief. The immediate future, I think this year is gonna look a lot like how the last few months have looked, so bouncing between different countries and different trips and being at home. I do think being based like at home with my family for this year is probably the best plan, both like financially and also just to kind of work out what the next step is. I think it's really okay to just take that little bit of time before rushing into something else, be that another big trip or be that moving out or whatever that may be. I do just think coming back to England, that was always the plan. The immediate future, I'm really looking forward to spring and summer. I enjoy being in the UK in summer anyway. I think that is when the UK thrives. This year is going to be a good summer. I can feel it. We've got the Eras tour, we've got the Euros, the Olympics are on. Like, it's just a good summer. So I just think that, like, if we can combine that with the weather, that would be a dream. But you know, it's the UK, so we can't ask for too much. So I really am looking forward to those plans. I have a lot of like little trips planned. I want to make sure that I do a lot of like summer trips with my friends. Obviously, the older we get, the more difficult it gets to pin people down in the summer. People have full-time jobs and they're taking annual leave, and people are, you know, saving to buy a house or moving away. And I think that when you have like individual friends that are at different stages in their life, it's difficult to pin people down to like do things with. So while a lot of my friends are still free in the summer, I definitely want to prioritize that. Okay, I said I wasn't yapping. Next question. When will you visit Thailand again? Thailand is probably my favourite place. I'm very excited to say that I am going to be going back towards the end of this year in September, again with Tom, and actually with Tom's family this time. This is going to be more of like a holiday. We are actually travelling around, but with his mum and dad, so that is very new for us and for them. It's going to be a really nice trip. I think Tom and I have banged on about Thailand to everybody that we can speak to about it over the last 2 years, so that's kind of where this has come from, and I bloody love it. It's such a special country to me. I think honestly Tom and I will probably go back and forth to Thailand for the rest of the time that we can afford to do that. We just really love it. So I will be there later this year. I'm not ruling out doing a potential another group trip in Thailand, probably next year now, like early next year. Do let me know if that's something you'd be interested in the comments. It's something that's in the back of my mind and something that I definitely think by the time I go in September, I'll probably have like a rough plan of that. Does that make sense? City or countryside? Both. I have grown up in the countryside. I think ultimately right now where I am in my life, I love being in the city. I feel like the hustle and the bustle of like London or Melbourne. Big fan. Wouldn't want to live there forever. Definitely wouldn't like settle down in a city. I love this question. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self? This is such a easy thing to say that everybody says, but not to worry. When I was 18, I was starting at uni and I hated it. Immediately knew that that was not what I wanted to do, and it took me like a full year really to trust my gut feeling, even though I felt that from like day one. But then on the flip side, I don't regret sticking the year out. I would say, yeah, trust your gut, be confident with trusting your gut. Also to be confident knowing when to call it quits with certain friendships and certain people. I definitely think when I was 18, I really clung on to the idea of every person I've ever been friends with will be my friend forever, because obviously I was like fresh out of school. That's definitely not the case, and I think that that's so normal. At 18, I think that maybe bothered me more. That doesn't bother me at all now. Like, I feel I've come a long way from that. Yeah, one word would be trust your gut, and it's gonna be fine. Quite a few people have asked me favourite book recommendations or recent reads, because I've put a few books on my story. So I just finished this book, which is called No One Saw a Thing. Really, really good, really recommend it. Literally read it in 48 hours. It is basically a kind of like a thriller, very, very fast paced, plot twisty book about little girls that get on the London Underground and then the tube leaves but their mum doesn't get on with them. It's like what I imagine to be every parent's worst nightmare. nightmare. When the tube pulls into the next station, only one little girl gets off, and it's like, what has happened? Where has she gone? It's actually just very cleverly written, and it's all set in London. It's set on the underground, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually think it's the UK #1 bestseller right now, which was just a coincidence. Like, I literally bought this at the checkout in Tesco, and I was like, oh, that book looks good, but yeah, it really is good. And I actually just started reading The Girls Who Disappeared. It sounds so similar. I definitely have a type. My genre of book is like thriller, mystery, crime, and then also kind of like coming of age, like figuring out your 20s. Is that a genre? I feel like maybe it is. I'm definitely not a fantasy. It's wild because when I was younger I would just solely read fantasy, which I think maybe is why I don't like it now. Like, I was Little Miss, Hunger Games, Divergent, The Maze Runner, Harry Potter obviously, and I think now I'm just like, oh. But I've seen a lot of people reading the same fantasy books on my Instagram. Is it called like something Thorn and Roses or Crown and Thorn and Roses? I have no idea. That literally sounds like your local pub. Maybe it's not that. I do kind of want to read one day because I just watched the Netflix series and I didn't like it to start with, but oh my god, the end. Somebody said, have you ever thought of interrailing? Yes, I actually had an interrailing trip roughly loosely planned for 2020. Obviously didn't happen. Basically, just with everything then being pushed back, I think interrailing was something that I kind of just left up by the wayside because there were other trips that I wanted to do more, and I think that we are in a really fortunate position in the UK where Europe is like right there and flights are cheap. And I think that the way I've been traveling over the last 6 weeks is like, you know, doing a trip for maybe 4 days and then coming home for a week or 2 or 3. I think with my job that worked slightly better. I wouldn't rule out interrailing. I definitely do think the train systems across Europe are amazing, and I also do think it is good value for money, but I just don't think there's an interrailing trip on the cards. But I definitely do want to see more of Europe. There's so many countries that I've never visited. I really want to go to Poland, I really want to go to Hungary, I really want to go to Switzerland, I really want to go to Slovenia. Like, there's just, yeah, there's a lot of countries that are very much still on my Europe bucket list, and I guess combining them and doing one big interrail trip would be a good way to do that. A lot of people asking about moving in with Tom and future plans in terms of moving. I definitely sort of spoke about this in my vlog last week when I was talking about redecorating my room. It is definitely in our like near future plan. Like, I would say this time next year I would really like to be seriously looking at moving out. Like, this time next year, that's very much where I'm at. I just think that because we spent all of last year abroad, that was definitely not something we were going to do this year. Also, we really do want to continue traveling for a little bit longer. I mentioned this in my last Q&A, I think it was, and also there's a lot of questions about this too. We really want to do like quite a big backpacking trip in South America for a couple of months, and we would look at doing that before we moved out. In terms of like where would we move to, also that is quite up in the air and quite to do with Tom's job as well. Something that we would probably look at more seriously closer to the time. Definitely not in Beverley, definitely not in this immediate area. It is a really lovely town. I actually really love living here, but it isn't somewhere I could see myself living for like the next chapter of my life. I'd want to be nearer a bigger city. I think that, you know, I've already lived in Leeds. There's definitely a certain draw to moving back there. Same with Manchester. I just think we're northern. We're probably going to stay in the north. We're definitely going to stay in the north, but not this little section of the north. Also, maybe we'll move out to Australia. Who actually knows? This is me and Tom having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, so we'll probably look at moving. We could maybe move towards Leeds way, or we could move to the Gold Coast. Like, that's absolutely fine too. Being 24 is a weird one. I'm like that TikTok. It's like, I haven't trekked through the Amazon rainforest or done a ski season in Canada or, you know, visited India or done a safari in South Africa yet. Like, there's so many things I still want to do that really, although it is in my near future plans, still not my top priority. That's just really not where I'm at in my life, and I just think your 20s are for having the freedom and the flexibility to be able to do those things. And not to say that you can't do them later in life, yada yada. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You can do those things at any age. Once again, I'm yapping. How are you feeling mentally? Have your travel blues gone away? How are you dealing with it? This is definitely very up and down. I'll be honest, I think that the first few weeks being back in the UK I found really genuinely hard. It's so cliche and also such a first world problem. Like, what a privileged position to be in, to sit and say to you guys, oh my god, I've spent a year in Australia and now I'm like really struggling being in England. Oh, woe is you, you know? Like, there's way worse things going on in the world. It's not that deep. But on the flip side of that, I am also somebody that is a big believer in can't use that as a benchmark. Internally, it doesn't stop you from feeling it. Do you know what I mean? So I do think that December was difficult. I really stupidly thought that it would be fine because it was December. I thought, oh, it'll be Christmas, it'll be lovely, but actually I think I just felt like quite overwhelmed. We got back and it was so busy that I just didn't have time to really like think about it or process it. And I was seeing all my friends that I hadn't seen in a year, and I was seeing all my family and Tom's friends, and then my brother and my brother's friends, and everybody was home for Christmas, and everybody was here, and it was just really quite a lot. I'd gone from living just me and Tom in Melbourne, where we only knew people that we had met that year, to seeing everybody I've known my whole life, and the contrast was maybe a bit much, to be honest. Having said that, of course it was lovely, and to be home was lovely, and that was a lovely time of year to be home. But yeah, I just don't really think I'd thought about it. I think now I've had more time to just get used to being in this routine, get used to working from home again. I'm definitely doing okay. I think that on the days where I am just at home and I'm working from my laptop, I find this job quite lonely. I find this environment a bit lonely as well. I do think that having social media as a job sounds quite glamorous and quite fun, but it's actually literally just me on my own all the time in this room or my office. I do miss the social side of travel because I'm an extroverted introvert. I love my own time. I want to work for myself. I love working for myself, but also I do enjoy socializing. I enjoy meeting new people. I actually really enjoyed working in hospitality when I was living in Melbourne. But again, I think that coming into summer, that will definitely get easier. I think anybody that works alone all the time through winter, probably not feeling the best. I've been very fortunate through January and February. I've still traveled around a lot. I think that being busy is the best thing for me. Like, having an empty calendar is not good for me. So that's kind of like where we're at with that. I also do think you guys at that time were like a really big help, because so many people were commenting on my vlog saying like, oh, I've just got back from, you know, living abroad for 5 years and I feel exactly the same, or even just like I've been away for 2 months and I find it hard to like adjust being home, because it's such a huge lifestyle shift. It really is just a completely different way of living. And not so much in Australia, to be honest. When we were living in Melbourne, it was a similar lifestyle, but like backpacking through Southeast Asia or road tripping through New Zealand, they're not like your average day-to-day ways of living, and it is an adjustment. Somebody said, would you like to move away from YouTube to do something else? Honestly, yes and no, because I started YouTube as a passion project when I was 14. I feel bloody lucky that I am still doing it, and also proud of myself that I've like stuck at something for so long. Like, I am usually a give up after a couple of days kind of person. I don't have any patience, so it's a miracle that we're still here. However, do I see it being my job forever? Definitely not. And I think that I've always said that, but I think that now it is more of a question of like, when do I make that decision? And also, what then? And that's a massive question. I go through such phases of like, oh, I really think I could do this as a job, or I could use these skills to do this as a job. And honestly, I think it's just a big question, and I don't feel too worried about it, because most people that are in their mid-20s feel a little bit lost career-wise, or come out of university and don't exactly know which avenue to go down, or how to use their degree, or if they even want to use their degree. Talking to my friends reassures me massively when it comes to this topic, because so many of us are just in the same boat, and I think that the comfort in that. So I'm not too worried. I just know that it's a bridge that I'll cross when I get to it, and I think that, to be honest, that's how I live day to day anyway. I'm like, we'll just cross that bridge when we get to the bridge, but right now we're not at the bridge yet. So there's definitely avenues that excite me. If I think about working in like other fields, or like other just areas of the same field, really, I do think that traveling over the last few years, I've got to meet so many people that do so many different jobs, and also see into the behind the scenes of the travel industry as well, which I actually really like. You know, writing my travel guides and starting up a little website that is completely separate really to like being an influencer, whatever this is. I enjoy writing. I really enjoy giving travel advice. And you know, there's definitely things that could be on the table, so I'm not too stressed. But I don't think I'll be doing YouTube when I'm like 40. But I do think I'll still be filming stuff. I film so much anyway that never makes it to the internet. Like, my camera roll is... Do you want to see it? I don't think you do. It's actually shocking. It's shockingly bad. Can you read that number there? So I do think I'd probably still be that person even if I didn't upload to YouTube. It's gone too far. It's gone too far. I don't think I can start going through that to delete it. That would take like a week. I just never delete anything. Like, ever.
Like ever.
A lot of people are asking, is South America next? It's definitely our next big backpacking trip. It's not in the immediate future, but it is next, towards the very end of the year though. So like, what are we in March? We're talking maybe like 9 months 9 months time, not now. Any more piercings or tattoos? Tattoos, definitely. I do think all the time about tattoos. The one I have on my back, I've got like, I'll insert it here. I kind of want to extend this down my spine a little bit, like not massively, but I kind of like the idea of maybe just a couple of like planets or other things that are circles, like running in a line to make the tattoo linear rather than round. But I do kind of want something like underneath it and above it. Does that make sense? But not yet. Also, because I can't see it, it's really not a priority. This is such a tough one. Top 3 Taylor Swift lyrics. That is near impossible, and I actually really want to film a tier ranking Taylor Swift songs video, but I just think nobody would be interested in that, but I might film it anyway just for me because I would be interested in that. Let me know, is that something you would watch? If you are a fellow Taylor Swift fan, would you watch me tier rank Taylor Swift songs? That's so hard though because there's so many. That's something I could maybe do ahead of the album release, which by the way I'm so excited for. Okay, we've got sidetracked. Top 3 Taylor Swift lyrics. Well, I have To Live for the Hope of It All tattooed on my back, so probably that one. You kept me like a secret but I kept you like an oath is a really beautiful lyric. The whole of Peace, the whole of Hoax, the entirety of Would've, Could've, Should've. Give me back my girlhood, it was mine first. Are you kidding? The outro to The Other Side of the Door. For a moment, a band of thieves in ripped up jeans got to rule the world. There's so many, I can't pick, but number 1 I'm probably gonna go with the one I have tattooed on me, so To Live for the Hope of It All. I absolutely love this question, but I need to think about my answer. And I would actually be really interested to hear your answer to this as well. So if you've got to this point of the video, have a little think and let me know in the comments what you would pick. But somebody asked, if a film was made about your life, what 3 songs would you want on the soundtrack? Such a good question, and one that I've never thought about before, so just give me a sec. Thought about my answer. There's a lot of contenders for this, but I'm gonna pick 3 kind of random ones, and I'm only gonna let myself pick 1 Taylor Swift track, but realistically the whole soundtrack would probably be Taylor Swift. I'm gonna talk you through it thematically. There's a plan here. So it's a movie of my life, right? I'm gonna start with Teams by Lorde, because I feel that just really sums up what it's like growing up in the suburbs, living somewhere that, like, you know, people haven't heard of, but that has meant something to you, that is your place, that you have lived and grown up. And every time I hear that song, I'm like, that is so relatable, even though it's not, because I am not Lorde. And I think also, is Lorde from New Zealand? Maybe that isn't even how she meant the song, but that is how I've listened to the song. So I would not open, but like have that at the beginning. This movie of my life. Then we're gonna move on to some kind of uplifting, feel-good, travel montage-y song. Think along the lines of like Riptide or T-shirt weather. There's a lot of contenders for this one, but insert any feel-good summer song there. That's kind of what I would want it to be. Actually, no, I've picked Drops of Jupiter by Train. That's going to be my middle song because I really love that song. Taylor Swift also does a good cover of it. This really is my very first backpacking trip song, and also it's just, again, easy to listen to, you know? It's nothing massively special, but it's just good energy. Okay, so I think my 3rd song, and this is difficult because I could have picked so many different Taylor Swift songs, but I'm gonna pick Daylight. And this isn't even like necessarily one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs, but I just think that those lyrics really resonate with me in a way completely different to probably how she wrote the song. But I think it just applies to like my life and my relationship in its own little way. And I do kind of think that if I was having a movie of my life, the Tom and I chapter would be obviously massive. We've been together for so long, and I think that this song is just so lovely to me. It's about how when everything else has been difficult, their love was like golden, and that is the kind of thing that's like, you know, got you through a hard time, like being a constant. You know, she's not in that relationship anymore, but the song still stands. I also just really like the lyrics. I think it's beautifully written, so I would have that song as like my romance section of my movie of my life. And I do think I've probably put too much thought into all of this, so yeah, let me know in the comments 3 songs to sum up the movie of your life or to have on the soundtrack. You could have others. I mean, I could think of like 25 more, and I'm actually going to end with that because I feel like that was actually quite a challenge. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you've got any other questions that you would like to know the answer to, do feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I shall be back on my channel on Saturday with a weekly vlog. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss it. Don't worry, this video and my next video will hopefully be going into subscription boxes. Well, that was a little trial on Thursday to see if that video performed differently, just to kind of work out how YouTube's analytics and algorithm work. Probably won't be doing that again. If you have missed that upload, I uploaded a vlog from Lisbon last week. If you don't try new things, how are you gonna know? Thank you so much for watching and sticking around, and I shall be back on Saturday. Bye!